It's 5 o'clock somewhere and it's 5 o'clock here. We'll officially call the meeting to order and remind everybody the table to the northwest corner of this room has documents in it that might help you enjoy the meeting, help yourself, including an agenda and so forth. If you can't hear, if you raise your hand, the chair will try to recognize and oblige you by getting people to speak up and speak into the microphone. Remind the people up front here to pull the microphones down so people can record and hear you. So we've called the meeting to order and we've said hello and welcome, and we're now going to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag to my right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 4, the consideration of approving the minutes. Approving the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, may I make an amendment?
You may make a motion.
Or a motion to make an amendment?
Sure.
Okay. I propose that we remove the closed session. There's, seems to be no purpose for it at this point. That would be item 22.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion. I have no knowledge of whatever it is about, but
We're scheduled to have a closed session,
yes, sir.
but we don't have anything to talk about in a closed session.
And that's what I don't know anything about. So anyway, I'll just take it for what you're saying.
That was my fault. I said that, I think, before you showed up. We took care of it yesterday, so I don't have anything new for you guys unless you want to talk
Okay.
about anything.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else? We have a motion to amend by removing the item from the agenda. Hearing no comments, all in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimously approved. Wheel number 5, Madam Clerk, conflict of interest question.
Part 6, Rule 13E of the 2024 Rules of Procedure requires members to disclose any potential conflict of interest. Please state if you have any potential conflicts. Mayor Holden,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer,
No conflicts.
Commissioner Smith,
No conflict.
Commissioner Thomas,
No conflict.
Commissioner Dyer,
No conflict.
and Commissioner Parkman.
No conflicts.
Thank you.
Number 6, consideration of approving the minutes for June 3, 16, and 17. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve all three is written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimously approved. Number 7, public comments. I have 2 people that have signed up. Ms. is Surprise.
Surprise! I'm here. Maria Surprise, 159 OBE. And today I'm speaking on behalf of the Holden Beach Property Owners Association, or HBPOA. First, I just wanted to say thank you to all the commissioners and town staff for what a great job you do for our town of Holden Beach. My comment is on agenda item 8B, resolution 2506, the resolution calling for a public hearing. The proposed resolution calls for a public hearing to be held on 5 o'clock on Tuesday, August 19th, which is the same day as the commissioner's regularly scheduled meeting. As Sylvia Pate commented last month, I strongly urge the Board of Commissioners and the town to hold a public information session prior to the 19th. At the Memorial Day meeting, the HBPOA members expressed interest in participating in a survey on the bond referendum so that their voices can be heard. So as soon as the statement of debt and the statement of disclosures and the pertinent tax information are known, I ask that you please make it immediately available to the public. HBPOA will be issuing a survey to our members on this bond referendum, and we plan to hold an information session for them on Saturday, August 9th. Thank you for your consideration on this important matter.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bauer?
Jim Bauer, 329 Ocean Boulevard West. Item 10 on Block Q, beating a dead horse again. I'd like to once again think about when we're doing this, anything involving Block Q should temporary, mobile, modularized. We're literally casting things in stone here. We still don't know what's going on. I can go on once again about how expensive asphalt is to take up. Let's put down some gravel, not some asphalt. Let's see if the whatever plan we arrive on, let's give it a year to soak and see if it works for us before we start making the temporary permanent. I think that's a good payoff, especially for such a large plot of land. Item 11 on the design, maintenance, and repair for the pier. I just want to remind you all that I'm hearing more and more people saying that the pier is going away and not coming back. So we should think about during the bond proposal as well as everything else for just a straight demolition of the pier. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Did I miss anyone that thought they'd signed up and properly tried to speak today? Everybody's had an opportunity, so we'll move on. We're on number 8. Ms. Ferguson?
Yes, sir. We are getting our guests online, so if you bear with us just a moment, they're on here, but we need to make it so that we can communicate with them. We have with us from Parker Poe, our bond attorney, Scott Leo, and from DEC Associates, our financial advisor, Andrew Carter. I'll begin by doing the required action the LGC asks at every public meeting about this project with the referendum. I will remind the public that the pier is uninsurable for wind and water-driven events. You have before you tonight consideration and possible action on 2 items. One is introduction of the bond order, and the second is a resolution calling for a public hearing. We will continue to have required actions as we move along each month in board meetings. And I would just make a suggestion, unless you guys have questions for either of the folks online or they want to add to this commentary, that you either approve the items separately so they each have their approval, or that you call them out individually for a combined motion. For example, I make a motion to approve the introduction of the bond order and the resolution, so calling them out by name. And for the public's benefit, the August 19th date is the public hearing that's scheduled for next month.
Everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
When we discussed this prior, we talked about scheduling a meeting. I think what is it, the Saturday before or after this public hearing?
16, yeah.
16th. Is that not? Have we done anything to what do we need to do to finalize that?
I think at the time we were saying that we didn't know if we'd have all the information, but I think we do have all the information. So I think it's a good idea to have something on the 16th, another public hearing is what you're suggesting, Paige?
Yes, so that the property owners could come in for
Yeah.
the weekend. Should we available?
Mr. Mayor.
What date?
16th.
Okay.
We're checking room availability and clerk availability down here as the sidebar.
You talking about here at Town Hall? Okay. I didn't know if you were going to spend a night that day or something.
No. Depends on how long
Leaving
it
time.
lasts.
Mr. Parvis?
Do we need to include that in the current resolution, or can that be simply done separate? Realizing we're on a tight schedule to meet the referendum. Or can this simply be revised to do 2?
Hey, Scott, I think that's a question for you if you want to answer that.
Sure. Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I think it's your preference. I mean, what I would suggest is we can stick with the 19th for sort of the formal action of holding the public hearing that sort of checks the box for the statutory process. And then in addition to that, if you want to do another public hearing, we can do that. Or if you just want to combine them and just do the one on the Saturday, I think that's okay. You would just need to follow the appropriate, appropriate actions to call, a meeting and make it a formal meeting. And we can hold the public hearing on that date as well if you want to revise this resolution to call it on that day.
Ms. Thomas?
Who would we want at that public hearing? I would assume we would want who's on the phone, the bond attorney, because he would be the one that's going to really ask the questions about the referendum and the bond. So are you available on the 16th is our next question.
Looking at my calendar. I think so. Certainly if I can't be there in person, can certainly phone in, but looks clear right now.
So can we go ahead for, like he said, the purpose of the bond is to say August 19th and then say we're gonna add another one and finalize it? But we don't have to finalize it tonight, do we? The 16th?
Well, you guys probably won't meet again before the 16th, so I would personally, I guess, if we're gonna do both dates, I would just recommend keeping the resolution as it is, and then after you make that motion, just do another motion to schedule an additional public hearing on the 16th, and then staff will take care of the advertisement for that.
Perfect, that's what I'll.
Mr. Parkins?
I think I got my question answered, but may I make a motion?
Certainly.
Motion to approve the introduction of the bond order and to approve resolution 25-06.
Second.
Discussion, anyone? Everybody understand the motion?
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about when you advertise for the public hearing. Do you also send that out to our Holden Beach email blasts that there's going to be a public hearing on this and such date?
Yeah, the requirements are to put it in the news, like a newspaper
Right.
publication, but yeah, when there's a public hearing like that, I would do an email blast also.
Can I make a request that when you send it out that we're going to have a public hearing, that you actually include the resolution so people can see it and know what questions they would come with?
Absolutely.
Similar to what Christie sent to the board yesterday, like whatever the resolution is, the actual wording of it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I
perfect.
thought you were gonna say, yes,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
What was the second part of that motion, that number?
2506.
Where's that?
25-06, yeah, you get that from the agenda package sheet.
It's not, yes, it's from the agenda sheet. We didn't write it on the resolution, but it will be when we actually pass it. You
Right.
got it from the actual.
I had that same
Okay.
problem, Paige.
It'll, yeah, that's the next
I
resolution.
didn't know where the number came from, that's where I was confused.
Anybody else? Nothing else, I'm gonna ask for the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
One opposed, say no. Okay, it's unanimously approved, and someone said they were gonna make another.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to have another public hearing on August 16th.
Second.
They're gonna, the staff's gonna follow.
If you guys have a time, it'd probably be better for you guys to decide than us, honestly.
1 o'clock.
I cannot, I cannot be here at 1 o'clock. I could be here at 1:30.
Does 2 o'clock give you a little more breathing room?
Yeah,
The only
and
thing,
then we have a town meeting at 5, right?
no, this is Saturday.
No, this is Saturday. It's a second hearing.
16th, Saturday, the 16th of August.
Oh. Oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong month. All right.
Oh,
All right, Saturdays, I can be here anytime on the 16th.
Okay, then 1 o'clock.
All right.
Does that work for everybody?
I wouldn't go much past 1 o'clock because you start getting traffic. We're changing every day at 2.
You want to do it earlier?
Yeah,
Say 11.
Sure.
I think it should be earlier in the day.
How about 10, in case it's a 2-hour meeting?
I would do 11, check out to 10.
Okay, I'll do 11. Yes, sir, that works for me.
Okay. So August 16th at 11.
What do you think, Jeremy? Traffic wise, do you think that's a better choice?
Traffic's a nightmare all day.
Yeah, but it's worse. It's worse between 1 and 4 o'clock.
Yes, yeah.
11.
We still need to vote.
Yeah, we still need to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
August the 16th.
All right, August 16th at 11 o'clock
In the
here.
books.
We're gonna, can I go ahead and say in this room?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And the other date again is 19th at what time?
The regular board meeting,
That's a regular meeting.
So that's gonna be
Will we start early?
prior to the board meeting.
5 o'clock, I would just do
5
it.
o'clock.
So the town meeting will start at the end of the public hearing.
Correct.
Summertime's flying by.
I know, right?
Okay, everybody got that? We still got a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It's approved for 11 o'clock on August the 16th
And August 19th at 5.
and 19th at
5.
5 o'clock. Combining both motions. Okay.
Is that what you need?
Mayor Holden.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, do we have everything we need on your end?
Yes,
All right, thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.
thanks, you too.
Okay, are we ready to move to number 9?
Yes, sir.
All
So-
right, Ms. Ferguson, you still have the floor.
Yes, sir. This is a housekeeping exercise. I told the board during my report last month that I wasn't sure where the contractor would come in with funding for Block Q as far as what they would expend last fiscal year versus what was carried over for this fiscal year. So we need to do a budget amendment to make their contract whole. Basically, they didn't spend as much out of last fiscal year as they thought they would, and what they could bill for as far as work completed. That fell back to fund balance, and now this amount for $90,580 needs to be reappropriated in this fiscal year. Before the board votes, I will say that Mr. Baker with Pinnacle is here, but in order to kind of keep these items clean, this is what we need to do on our side to fulfill our contract obligations. This morning, I was given additional information by Mr. Baker that we can go to later when I'm giving my report about the timeline and the update to that, since this report for the manager's report was printed. What I would ask is that at that time, the board allow him to come up if you have additional questions about that timeline during my report. So that would be a little bit different, but not to complicate things and bring him up during this money exercise.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2512.
Second.
Discussion, anyone? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Unanimously approved. Ms. Ferguson, you still up?
Yes, sir. So now Mr. Baker is here. In your packet, we have just a very minimal drawing of a site plan. The purpose of this exercise was simply to go back and take away everything else that was on the site plan presented to you earlier in the year as far as parking or anything that, and just try to locate where the concert venue should go based on the study that the architect had done, but also on what the Parks and Rec had brought back to you. So again, the purpose is just to say, this is where we think the concert location should be. And then if you guys agree to move forward with that, he would come back with more advanced renderings as we go forward. And I'll open it up for the board to have any discussion that you like with Mr. Baker.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
board members, staff, we appreciate you letting me talk tonight, and I will answer any questions. But the task we were presented was just the location of possibly the bandstand. Bandstand's basically 40 by 60. And the dance area is about 1,400 square feet. And that's just the position that you've got. In your folder, you've got the summer and winter solstice. It shows where the shadows will fall during each season. And the reason the site is positioned basically in the south portion of the site is due to the sun shining in either the performer's face or the spectator's face. It's just like doing a baseball field, basically. You let east and west, let the sun go so you're not shining directly in the face. And that's the reason that position that, in our opinion, is the best position on the site. We have looked at other positions, north side, southeast, and you still get the sun in your face, especially the fall. I'll open up the questions.
All right, anybody got questions? Tom? Yeah, I've got a couple points. This is just based on the schematic that's in the packet.
Yes, sir.
I thought we were gonna leave Carolina Avenue open because it's got 10 boat parking spots and we didn't want to lose those.
I was not posed that question at all.
That road's already closed.
I thought we were gonna leave it available for boat parking. Two, I thought we were gonna go with a bandstand versus a big pavilion, something more similar to what Ocean Isle, Oak Island, Charlotte have.
That's your choice. This is just a block, if you will, a rectangle. Once the board approves this location, exactly the design of the bandstand, whether it's on the ground, whether it's elevated, whichever. I mean, the design of the pavilion or the bandstand has not even been looked at.
Okay. And then the dance floor is 1,400 square feet.
That is correct.
It's not shown on the,
It is basically shown, but it's in a kind of a U shape. It won't be shaped like that. It'll be shaped basically like you'd see at the Ocean Isle or at the, I think, Sunset Market.
okay. And then finally, can you give us a footprint or show on there how much audience seating area we're going to need to handle peak load? I think it was Memorial Day was a very, very heavily attended. I remember driving over the bridge and it looked like the playground was just totally full. So just, based on that, whatever that estimate was for Memorial Day, what would that look like as far as seating area on the layout? To make sure we got space.
We could absolutely show seating. We could actually show chairs. We could show standing room, things like that. We could show that in the next. But this area right here, you could position a lot of
Well, I
people.
think it would be helpful to show it so we can
Yes.
set it aside because I know people got eyes on block queue for other things to add into it and we want to make sure we have enough seating spots.
Absolutely. And with that, with Parks and Rec, we went through a lot of renditions, if you will. Boat parking is one, some, courts, things like
Yeah,
that.
paddle.
Absolutely. I mean, a little walking trail. So that's up to the board, what you guys want to do with that site. And that's what the scope of work that you guys want us to show. Once you guys decide, we'll show that and show it as a rendering.
So what are you expecting from us tonight?
This just to answer the questions, basically is just the position of the bandstand or the pavilion. Once we do that, then we will take it with the staff for you guys. Where do we need to move forward? Do you want to show parking there? Do you not want to show parking there? Do you want to show boat parking there? Do you not? I mean, pickleball courts. Right now, we don't have a scope of work. The only thing we've got is just the open house.
But basically, what you're saying is this is the best site that you've come up with and you'd like for us to allow you to move forward to do the design.
That, in our opinion, this is the best location for this.
Ms. Thomas?
So I have a question about the size. I know, Christy, when you talk to the band, they have a minimum size that is allowed. What is that?
Each band differs, like they may list something on a contract, but the pavilion that was up there was 36 by 36. And then when we went through this exercise, at the Parks and Rec meetings, and don't know if they came and presented, I can't off the top of my head remember at one of your meetings, but Yoga was asking that you don't forget them in this space either, because when the pavilion was torn down, they had to start trying to hop around, so they want to be able to use this space. So instead of thinking smaller, I think you need to think at least what you were having before.
Okay, so you want the same size as the previous pavilion? I mean, with a different, like a rectangle instead of a square. Okay. And so when will we have an opportunity to provide feedback for the design? As far as, is it gonna be a bandstand? Is it gonna, I was surprised to see that it had railing all the way around, because at Ocean Isle, they don't have a railing.
That just, right, those
Yeah,
are
that's
just,
just a rendering, so,
that
but we
just
wanna
shows
have
columns.
feedback on
right,
into that before you start making a big design and then come back and it's not what we expected.
right. If it's a shell, if it's a bandstand that actually just cantilevers over, that's a shell. I mean, like I just said, the design is not even planted in it. What you see there is actually the columns that would hold up this type of roof. So, yeah, that would all be done.
Yes, ma'am.
I would make a suggestion that, for tonight, just we stick to the purpose of just if everybody's okay with the spot. And then for the August meeting, I don't know what your calendar is. I'm about to volunteer you about being here in August.
So,
But, that you guys have an agenda item to give further direction, and also for, that gives Randy an opportunity to look at the contract he provided us for the site plan versus moving into actual renderings for a facility, and make sure where we're covered or if we have a different scope of work. So that covers everybody before we get into an open discussion. So I think you
Perfect.
need to have an August meeting, which keeps you on a timeline with the public in trying to move forward with this. Because people that talk to me every Sunday are saying, is it going to happen by next season? So I think it keeps the board on track if you guys want to look at entertaining that option.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Ms. Purvis.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for your work and your patience with us all with this project.
Thank
And I apologize, I'm part of the problem, or am the problem. So we show this here. Is it planted right here, can't move?
oh, no, no, sir.
Okay. And the reason I say this is there are a lot of desires for using this property, pickleball, maybe some boat parking. And me personally, I'm a proponent of figuring out all the pieces before we start landing hard structure. Additionally, there are surrounding properties that can be incorporated into meeting these needs. We haven't fleshed out those needs yet. And I consider that a problem. We haven't established the requirements against which you need to go do a design.
Correct.
So if this is not fixed right there, it can
Right.
move 50 feet to the left, 50 feet to the right, get a little smaller,
Absolutely.
then I can be okay with it. But folks, I don't think there's still a lot of work to be done here, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to move toward a more detailed drawing. Allow him to, is that the motion you need?
If you make a motion to approve where the
Approve the site plan?
location is for the concert venue, taking, I guess, into consideration Commissioner Parkinson's comments.
May I make the motion? Can I make a motion to approve the approximate location? I mean, I understand
Right.
the
Shadow.
north-south facing, that's good, but you start jamming in some pickleball courts and a few other things that may need to move around a bit. So I would
Okay.
prefer we don't declare it chiseled. in
Okay,
stone.
we got a little problem. She's got the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Doc.
Well, I think when we did this request for the site plan, for him to bring back a site plan, was we did vote to go ahead and move forward with the concert venue at this point. We do have the idea that other things are gonna come along, but we went ahead and said we would move forward with the concert venue.
You want to make a substitute?
I don't think the concert venue is gonna make, with this location that he's saying, there's still plenty of room all around that area for other things that we could add in later. But I think one of the major things that we need for this community right now is to get this concert venue done. So the concerts can be moved over there. There's 5 times, 6 times as much seating over there available than what's over here now. So I don't think seating's gonna be a problem. Even after we put something else on, people can put their chairs on other surfaces. So I like, I mean, I can make that motion to approve the site plan and move forward toward a more detailed drawing.
Are you making that a motion?
Is that okay?
Well, that's your choice.
That's what I was trying to do.
Okay, all right. So the motion's made. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second.
All right, discussion.
Yeah, I didn't know we wanted to approve the site plan versus approve the location. The site plan implies everything else, the whole site.
Well, then amend it to the
The
location.
location of the concert venue, Is that-
Of the, or the pavilion, in the bandstand, whatever we want to call it.
the stage.
I'll second the amendment.
Oh, wait a minute. The maker has to approve.
Can you want to read that back, kind of approval of the stage?
The location of the stage, not approve the site plan overall, just the location of the stage.
So are you fine with to approve the location of the stage and move forward with a more detailed drawing?
Yes, please.
All right, so the maker and the second person both agree to that change.
Yes, sir.
All right, now you want to discuss it? Vote it. All right. Hearing no discussion.
I'm sorry, but I do have something to add.
All right,
I think from the staff's perspective and from Randy's perspective, unless I'm missing the bus here, what's gonna happen is when he comes back to see you guys next month, it's gonna be more direction given to him. So tonight you're just saying that we're okay with this location, but he's gonna not have another drawing for you for next month because y'all still have to give him direction in moving towards that. So just so the board understands that you're not gonna see something else in the agenda packet that's an additional drawing till after you give him direction next month.
okay. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Was that a unanimous, everybody?
No, sir, I oppose.
Okay, all in favor of the, raise your hand if you're in favor of the motion. All right, 3-2.
I don't oppose, I just wasn't voting.
It counts as a positive
I
vote
know.
if you don't vote.
4-1.
So it's 4-1 approved. All right. Mr. Parks, did you have another motion you want to make of any kind?
No, sir, not at this
Okay,
time. Thank
all
you.
right. All right, so are we done with him?
Yes, sir. Well,
Randy.
not, he has to stick around, but for this item.
For tonight. Thank you for being here.
Well,
Okay, let's see, we're on number 11. Ms. Ferguson, you still have the floor.
Yes, sir. So HDR representatives are here with us this evening, Will Fuller and Bill Kincannon, to talk about the progress on their scope of work. You guys did receive this document, which went out to the public, and it is their draft preliminary design and then maintenance and repair plan, which they are calling a combination life cycle analysis. And with that, I will turn it over to Will to present their report.
All right, thank you, Christie. Mr. Mayor, rest of the board, appreciate y'all's time as always. Here we start out by just going with a quick high-level summary, recapping the design that was submitted. To start with that, the pier ended up being 996 feet long. It'll have an ADA ramp that leads up to its main elevation, and then from there, it'll be a straight walkway, 16 feet wide, all the way down to the T-head, which will be a 48 by 48 ending of the pier. There is 2 additional egress points that were added. One's going to be off of the balcony, which is going to flip from the east side of the pier to the west side. That'll have a staircase that comes off of it as currently proposed. That'll tie into the base of the existing ADA ramp that acts as the beach access. There's additionally a secondary ADA ramp at the start of the pier that also connects to the existing ADA ramp. So those will be the 2 egress points that were added. And then after that, we have at the end of the T-head, there's currently a 30 by 30 covered structure. We just went with that just because it's basically the biggest structure that we would start with. We wouldn't want to go any larger than that. It provides about 9 feet of space from the tip of the structure to the railing. One of the commissioners has already pointed out that there could be some fishing impacts to that, which we can definitely drop that down, and that's something that we can discuss in another phase of design. Coming to the cost breakdown of the structure, it came out to being roughly about 45% was the structure itself. Roughly 30% was due to the trestle, the construction methodology, and then 25% was the contingency, which is just encapsulating all of the unknowns. And then one final point is the pier ended up moved to the southwest by about 30 feet. The rationale for that is when you're doing the demolition of the existing pier, you're likely to not get all of the existing piles out of the water. Some of those are going to snap off, and then in order to maintain that same footprint, you have to send divers down there to start excavating out those broken piles, which is going to be a nightmare. So just sliding it over a little bit will help to avoid that situation, and also provides some space for the trestle. So getting into that life cycle analysis, which is the maintenance plan wrapped in one, that took on what's known as an unconstrained approach, which translated out in normal speak basically means it is full due diligence on the routines, inspections, and those cycles for it. So it's going to be, a full-fledged repair schedule. That could always be opened up a little bit to bring those costs down, which is perfectly normal. That's something that can be further discussed down the road. That life cycle is broken up into 5 kind of buckets of activities. There were the maintenance, preservation, rehabilitation, and replacement. And then the 5th bucket is the reactive, which is for what was typically historically known as acts of God, which are, your storm events, lightning strikes, and then also a boater deciding they want to hit the pier. Those events were not initially included in the summary. With just the first 4 types of activities, it came out off the top of my head, I believe it was right around $57,000 a year in annualized budget to cover those activities. We've already got a note from the commissioners to go ahead and add in the construction methodology to our full replacement cycle. So that is going to bring that annualized cost up. We haven't finished that analysis quite yet, but it's somewhere going to end up in the 60 to 70,000 range, as opposed to the 56 or 57 that it's currently at now. And we also had an ask to discuss a reactive contingency budget. We really don't want to try and predict the frequency of those events, just because you can't really predict hurricanes or those types of events. So instead, what we propose is just to provide you with a cost to do a single vent repair or replacement, excuse me. And one vent being 2 side-by-side piles, the associated structure that maintains or is maintained by those piles, which equates to the 16-foot wide deck and a 12-foot long coverage of that walkway. And what that breaks out to is about $80,000 to replace that if you have to do one single repair event for that vent. How that breaks down is roughly 50% of that goes into the structure itself, 35% into the mobilization, and then about 15% for the demolition. Yes, and that's going to be the most expensive way to do it. So that's pricing it out with full mobilization, getting that barge crew, the tug out there, the whole shebang just for that one vent. So that's why it's expensive. Yeah, and if we're able to do a top-down approach, you're not having to mobilize that barge naturally. That barge crew, just for context, I believe is about $10,000 a day, is what you're paying to get the barge crew up. So with that, we are on track to have the final report submitted August 4th, as expected. And happy to answer any additional questions that you all might have on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your work and answering my questions here. I do appreciate it. We've still got a little time to look at the drawings and provide you some feedback. I've got them. I just haven't had time to sit down and go through them. and there was a supplement on the website that where a lot of these questions were listed. So I think one thing that's important just on that not to exceed $7.3 million number, the estimated cost for demolition was 200,000.
Correct.
The pier was roughly 3.3 million for the structure. The trestle work site, the work trestle, excuse me, which is the most expensive approach, but probably the fastest, is 2.4 million. And then there's a $1.4 million contingency. So I just wanted to put the numbers out there, make you aware that they're on the website, so you can go look at that. There are other questions in here that were important. One of my questions had to do with partial deck rehab and the periodicity, and you said it wouldn't affect the overall cost. I do believe as time goes on, the period between replacements gets smaller. I think that's what your reply said.
Correct. So it was slightly different, but it's the same end result. Instead of it being shorter intervals of the repairs, we think of it more as more repairs happen over that same amount.
Okay.
So we're on 10-year cycles. So those cycles stay at 10 years, but you might have 10% of the debt gets replaced after the first 10 year, and then it will be 30% gets replaced after the next 10 years. And then at the third 10 years, it'd be the full debt replacement.
Okay, so what I just want to make sure is that we can use that data to program budgets accordingly. I didn't want to take it over the lifespan, take an average, and then find out we get towards the end that we need bigger chunks of money than, say, that average annual cost. But what you're telling me is that will work.
Yes, sir. And we did make a note that we will go ahead and reflect that. And there's that figure that has the bar chart with the cost per year. Currently, it's shown just as that flat 20% with 10 and 30% averaged out. But we'll make the adjustment just to reflect it so you can actually see it a little bit better on a time-sensitive basis.
Okay, and that, I think I'm concerned about getting a proper budget someday down the road.
Understood.
Okay, let me see if I got anything else on here. No, that's it. Thank you, Will.
I'll add to that. Like Rick, want to make sure we've got our arms around all the expenses so we can budget going forward. And I was asking about operating expenses, not just maintenance, but operations and maintenance. And it may or may not be a big deal. I know it wasn't in the scope of what we asked you for, but I guess I'm picturing there'll be utilities, there will be electricity, there will be water. Maybe we can just estimate those. Insurance, probably liability, whatever types of normal insurance the town might have. And then personnel, which is probably the biggest one, if we're going to have to, staff somebody there to charge people to access the pier. Are there others that, we ought to look at or be aware of that we're not aware of now?
So there's been studies on this. Again, we're not really, haven't been really scoped to do this,
Yep.
look at this operational cost. And that would be a whole nother thing. You've got to look at, insurance, labor cost. How much labor are you going to have? How many people do you anticipate being on the pier on a given day? What percentage of those are fishermen? What percentage of those are people walking out on the pier? How much are you in charge? There's the utility issues, the insurance issues, labor, there's a lot of different costs. And really, at this point, we can't really give you a really good answer. I'd rather not give you an answer than give you an answer that's not good. And we haven't really done the homework to be able to come in here and tell you something that we can stand behind.
Okay, understood. Yeah, and when we recognize we've got things like the building still hanging out there because we want to address it. And if it's a building, the operating maintenance on that too. So
There's been, I was reading a report this morning. There was a report done a few years ago. They analyzed quite a few piers along the coast. And there's some information out there, but we haven't really put it together. And we kind of need some historical data from town to really complete that and give you a good answer.
Okay, thank you.
And then one, just you asked for other example ideas of costs. Another one that we saw in that report was there's a cost like per square foot for fishing license. So there's, those types of additional factors as well.
Yes, sir.
I noticed this, I guess it was about Surfside Pier in South Carolina. I believe reading that the fire marshal set a limit on how many people would go out there.
It makes sense for there to be a capacity limit of people. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that something you would provide information on? Or is that all in the fire marshal's purview
That would be among the things we would have to look at.
in the next phase of design, probably?
Right.
Okay, and I would think for some of the utilities and personnel costs, and insurance, don't we have some data from the current pier that might give us at least a ballpark?
We do, and then what you could do for personnel is also look at other peers in the area and what they're being able to charge. But the reason I had my hand up is I think what they're telling you, and I don't want is to get away from us and you guys think one thing and they think one thing, is they're telling you, as I understood it in our meeting on this week, July, that this is not in your scope of work. So if you guys want them to do this type of calculation for them, you would have to add it to their scope of work and an additional fee. And so I just don't want the board to be confused that they go away and start working on that. And
Understood.
Operating costs.
operating costs.
Okay.
Talking about occupant limits, that gets set by the local building official.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm also the fire marshal now.
thank you.
Dr. Dyer?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Working previously when we had a different engineering firm and we were versing replacement versus repair, is the issue came up of if we remove the present pier, we may not get a permit for a new site. Where do you guys stand in that?
Are you talking just the getting the permit to build the pier?
In a different
Okay.
location than what's present?
Yes, ma'am. That's a valid concern, but the justifications that we would have for it, being moving it over from the demolition that's remaining, and also allowing that space for the trestle. That combined with it's only about 30 feet, and we'd have to be doing the CAM and major or the town, excuse me, we need to be doing the CAM and major from scratch. We expect it to be permittable.
Generally, when you're pulling piles out of the ground, you're gonna break a certain percentage of them, and your environmental agencies would rather, they would have done this a number of times, they would rather you break the piles out below the mud line and move slightly rather than excavate to try to get the rest of that pile out. So it's actually friendlier on the environment if you shift the pier a little bit as opposed to try to dig all those broken tile pieces out.
I understand. I know that it was discussed that when we did repair, that if we were considering going out to the original link, we'd have to use the same footprint. So I just didn't know if there was a question there, that's something that we've got to find out.
That's a good point, but I think,
I'm not finished.
I think there's generally, when you talk about in place, there's a slight shift expected in a situation where you're driving piles, not necessarily, I don't want to say it's 50 foot or 30 foot or 20 foot, but there's a slight shift expected simply because of what we're doing in the ground.
Tim, is there any concern that you think that we might, I'd hate to get too far into the process and then we don't get a permit, because CAMA, as anybody that's worked with CAMA knows, they can.
Pretty sure we will be getting a permit from CAMA. It's gonna be a major CAMA permit, and we're gonna need certain things before we can actually start applying. And I think I may have said that in a previous meeting. I mean, we're working our way in that direction. We just haven't got there yet. But I don't think getting a permit, it may change the parameters a little bit. We'll get a permit, I feel sure, even if we move.
Okay.
I feel sure we get.
I just want to make sure we didn't get
No
too
more
far.
than we're moving it and going out. That I can't answer, going out probably it is, but since it's gonna be a new major camera permit, it would be like it's a brand new document. So I don't know that those when we were doing repairs, it would have been important for us to have that, so we could go out to it, but we've only been doing a repair permit, and it wouldn't require maybe permit.
Right.
But it's not gonna make a difference whether there's piles there or not about getting the permit for that location.
I just want to make sure we don't get too far into it and then we say we don't have a permit.
Well, we gotta get far enough into it.
Yeah. My other question was, the 2.5 million for the trestle, work trestle, which that's obviously temporary. That's a pretty large expense. Is that the only scope of doing that project is using the trestle?
No, but, we were kind of asked for the, not to exceed number. So we kind of, as opposed to dictating the contractor's means and methods, we don't know if the low bidder, or we don't know how they're gonna bid the job, whether they're gonna bid it to work on a barge, whether they're gonna bid it to do a trestle, or whether they're gonna do top down. And so, because we're not dictating means and methods at this point, we really haven't done, we're kind of early in the design stage anyway, to come up with a not to exceed number. We use the most
expensive. Okay, I just want to make sure this wasn't like a
Right.
set in
We
stone.
did
Yeah.
the most expensive way out there that they could do this, and I talked to a number of, contractors to, kind of get that, trestle cost. So that is the most expensive way, and that's why we use it.
Okay. I have two more questions. Bear with me. And this may have been answered in an earlier meeting, but the first thing is I wanted to ask that access, that beach access with the Hatteras ramp, is that going to have to be closed during construction, or the public still be able to access the beach from that public access? Because that affects the houses across from the pier, as that's their access.
There would be at least some part of time when you're tying into it, that would be expected. But it wouldn't be closed the entire building of the pier. It would just be when you're tying in that staircase or that ramp into it should over the.
Well, this is the one to the west of with the Hatteras ramp and the handicapped access.
The wooden access ramp.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would only be closed down when it's getting tied into or when the machinery is near it. It wouldn't be closed down
For the
the
entire-
entire construction duration of the.
Because that affects the people's access to the beach across that has rental houses and everything over there. Okay.
Understood.
Yeah.
I think the walkway will have to be moved in. Because we'll be attaching with it. The Hatteras ramp should stay open. It's to the right of the road. So the emergency access to the beach and to the public or emergency vehicles and stuff should remain open.
And
It's on
handicap.
the other side.
And that's the handicapped access as well, right?
Well, handicap folks can also gain access to the beach up that Hatteras ramp because the way it was designed. It
Okay.
was designed you can get, for temporary use, we can move the mats and they can go up and over there.
So the boardwalk won't have to be closed all the time, but there might be periods of time where it would be closed.
And it would be possible for us to make it,
No.
folks could still get to the beach.
Okay. And one more question.
You got.
Okay. How much of the parking lot will have to be closed during construction, and will that be for the whole entire time? Because we'd have to know for revenue purposes, how many parking spaces would be.
That would be a question we need to answer in the next design phase. That's
Okay.
getting into the 60% constructability review. It's a great question.
Okay.
Because we are certainly intending on using that parking lot as a staging area. So that would be something that we would give you information on.
And also the 6 camping spots to the left is revenue to the town that's adding to the paying that debt service off. So if we can find out if that's going to be accessible or not as well, it would benefit us if it didn't have to be closed a long period of time.
Yes, ma'am. And in that next phase, we're happy to have some communication on that and talk through the best route forward.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I'm done.
Mr. Evans, I've got one question, and I don't know if the timing's appropriate or if you think it's worthwhile, but we now have some drawings. Is it appropriate to float them to the permitting agencies just to see if they're going to throw up on something?
We actually were supposed to, but we didn't get to it, but we were going to try to contact our local DCM rep out of Wilmington and try to have a meeting with them and carry what we have to see if we can get a jump on the whole process.
Super.
But I kind of need something and I hate to go out and get a permit, but not people with permit. be, they're very tedious about doing what you say you're going to do. Because we got notified, there's a property owner, and all that other stuff. So,
Right, and I'm just kind of, what I'm thinking is just kind of floated out there, saying this isn't the final thing. It's entirely up to you. I know what you're, you know what you're doing.
We'll either get them to meet with them, or we'll get them to come meet with us. They're very cooperative. Have
Great.
been through this whole process. So I feel for if we can get Patrick or Tara to come visit us, or we can go visit them. We're gonna see them at the next camera meeting anyway, so we may try to set something up. There.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else with questions? You guys are getting off easy tonight. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, turn the page on your agenda with police report, Chief Dixon.
Good evening. Get to the back side of this thing, aren't we? First, I'm going to start off with a follow-up from last month. I think it was, you had a
Probably
question.
me.
Anyway, in the minutes from last month, it said that I would follow up on a shots fired call. So I did go follow up on that, and the officer that responded did not find anything. It was most likely fireworks, but basically someone, it was like 11 o'clock at the night. A lady heard what she thought was shots fired, called 911. Officer checked the area and never found anything. So most likely fireworks, but that's what that call was.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And in preparation was to go over this month, I wrote down a couple of notes, and if I don't know all the answers, then I'll bring them back again. But if you're on page 30 there is a couple of armed with knife or gun. I figured that might come up. One of those was an assist the county call. They had an armed subject, so we went out there to assist them. That was one of those calls, and the other one was here on the beach. We had a male on the east end who got into a disturbance and pulled a knife out. So that was that situation. No one was hurt in either of those incidents, and nothing really to report there. But that's what they were. And then the B&E a little bit further down. That was actually somebody locked their keys in their car and decided the best route was to break into their car. And one of the neighbors saw it and called us. So happy to go down and help them break into their own car. But that's where we're at with that. I didn't see anything else that jumped out at me. But if you have questions, comments, or concerns, I will be glad to try to answer them or get answers for you for next time. And then we can. Yes, sir.
Just a quick one on 31. I see we have disturbance or disorderly subject and stuff, and I know we've got a lot of people here. This is typical. There's nothing.
Yes, drunks this time of year, disorderly. Yes, and like I said, it's unless the officers call me and say, "Hey, you might want to remember this one," it's probably something that was handled on scene and good to go. So,
Okay, thanks.
yes, but this time of year doesn't surprise me.
Well, it really didn't. I just want to keep a pulse on whether or not there's an uptick.
That's right. That's right. So that's what I've got there. Let's see here. Looking through 34. We made an arrest on one of our domestic violence calls. That could have been one of the disturbance calls there. But nothing really there.
Well, on 34, you have the assault by pointing a gun.
Oh, I'm glad because I actually have notes written down underneath that one because I thought it might. Similar to the drone situation, which I remember talking about one time. This was two neighbors. This was not a drone this time. This one actually started in the street. One neighbor was trying to hook up his truck to his boat trailer, and I guess took up too much street while he was trying to do that. And another neighbor got angry, and so it kind of went left from there. We did not charge anybody with that. It was a he said, she said that they pointed a gun at me. We documented it in case it came back up again. But there was not enough evidence to say whether anyone actually pulled a gun out or not. Yes. And then that's kind of what I've got, other than more questions yes.
Chief, you know where I'm going. LSV 0.
Yes.
in just a small amount of time, I was working in the yard and moving washers and dryers and stuff just today. And there were 4 different LSVs go by, completely full of people, no seatbelts. And the irony of it is, when I got out of my truck to walk in this building, 4 people rode right by the police department without their seatbelts on. It seemed, I said, now isn't this a mockery? So, Chief, I don't know what needs to be done, but I don't want to wait till somebody gets hurt.
Right.
Just my observation, and, that's me.
Correct. I
Thank you, Jeremy, for what
completely
you do,
understand.
sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Chief, and your staff for the wonderful job you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans, inspections?
Surprised the inspection department don't make a motion of disorderly. So,
I can see you being the brunt of
I know. Nothing. All right. First off, I misspoke. I know this for a fact, and I guess I'm throwing out names, but we'll be getting in touch with Ron at King after some long. Okay, for permits, active new home permits, we've got 30. Other active permits is 542. Permits issued over 30,000 is 66. Permits issued over 100,000 is 4. And that includes the totals. And permits of substantial improvements equals 3. And substantial improvements can be that's a high dollar amount. Typically, it's got to be more than 50%, or has to be more than 50% of the total cost of the construction, the actual estimated value of the building. So those can be pretty high amounts because we've got some pretty valuable properties here. Permits issued waiting pickup is 31. Total permits are 603. These next 3 numbers indicate that we're actually doing our plan reviews and getting them out. Permits in review are only 5, so that means that they're off the table. CAMA issued is 2, which means that we've gotten the previous CAMA permits out of the way, and zoning issues are 6. And then, of course, the permits that are serviced for inspection for the month were 123, and in total inspections made were 264. What's not included in here is stormwater permits. Most of the individual inspections that are done on both the lift station and the new bathroom, and anybody that wants a partial, so they wouldn't show up in the system. We do run a few of those. I'll be glad to answer. Oh, and the other thing I want to bring up is the amount of money and the fees that got paid, the total fees and fees that got paid. That was a pretty big chunk that came in. Other than that,
Any questions of Mr. Evans?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you,
for your hard
sir,
work, Tim.
for you and your staff, sir. Money man. Mr. McRaney.
Wrapping up this fiscal year with the report. The general fund revenue came out good, very comparable to last year. The expenses look like they're well over, but that's from the fund balance appropriation. So that's really just taking down our fund balance to be more within our policy. Then going to the D-part fund, you should have a supplementary line graph that shows the 12 months. But revenue looks like it went down for June. That's because of the transfer from the general fund last year. And expenditures ended up basically exactly the same.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just looking at the bar graphs, and I noticed between this supplement and the one that originally went out, the bars seem to have changed some. Is that normal? Or am I just not seeing it correctly? Just the height of the bars, like if you look at March, in March, I guess the FY24 expenditure is taller, it appears to me. In-
I actually don't,
Okay,
but it's probably just a scale.
Okay.
There's the legend on the side.
no, well, the actual bars themselves, and if it is that, it could be scale, I'll look at that, and if I still have questions, I'll call you. Thanks.
So,
Alright.
we seem to have lost the actual numbers. I have a real hard time seeing the difference between these different greens and the orange and the red.
Mhm.
And so I would appreciate having the numbers so I can actually see the actual number. It used to have the, the numbers
Yeah.
across the
Yeah,
top.
that was, it was just, it made it too small to have all three on one page, but I can do separate pages.
Yeah, or maybe even like dash the old stuff and keep the current one solid. I just really can't see the difference between the orange and the red
Okay.
and which one I'm looking at it. And I mean, it helps to have it bigger, that's helpful. But if we could have one of those two things,
They'll differentiate.
yeah, because when I can look at the numbers, then I can see
Mhm.
it. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And which is which, because it's in the numbers.
Which also a little disclaimer, I mean, these are not the final numbers. We're going through audit right
Right.
now, and there'll be adjusting entries for the end of the year. But, I mean, it's pretty close.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, I think it'd be good because I have the same problem looking at the red. I can't differentiate 24, the colors. So if, as Tracy said, maybe last year's could be a dotted
Dotted
line and
line.
this year will be
Yeah,
solid.
that'd be good.
That would be good.
That would be helpful.
Great.
It looks a lot better on.
Yeah.
This is your,
I'm sure it does.
this is your future someday.
All right, anything else from anybody?
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you. Ms. Ferguson, you again.
Yes, sir. So as far as our Greensboro Street lift station, we did have a meeting between the engineer, contractor, and town staff on June 26th. That was a progress meeting, the first one held with everybody. We've been having email communications, but that's one of those, get everybody in the room and see where we are. Fourth application for payment was submitted to EPA. The state still lags in sending payments for 3 and 4, and they have switched to another computer system and during the changeover time. So we're trying to have them come along with us, and we're complying with what we have to do on our end to get into the new system. And then there's a list of things there that in the interest of time, I won't read to you that are projected for the next 30 days as far as work. Block Q restrooms. I'm not going to throw Randy under the bus here, but what I will let you know is that the contractor did struggle to meet our expectations in the beginning. There's work that's going on there that looks more promising. And then this morning rolls around and Mr. Baker calls me and tells me that this August that's in this is now projected to be October, which I had a big problem with. He has a big problem with. I've talked to Sydney today, and without going too far into things, I'll certainly invite him up and let him share anything he gleaned in talking to the contractor with you, but we may have an executive session next month on the agenda, and I'd prefer to leave that part at that. So if you would like him to give you any more details on what he learned, then now would be the time if you guys are amenable to that, and then otherwise, we would move forward with further discussions in the future.
Point of clarity, you asking that he.
If the board is
possibly go into
okay with
executive?
him. Not
No.
tonight,
Or-
but for next month, we may need to have an executive session about the contract.
But you recommend he comes up and does it?
I do, he can just tell us what he learned today. He shared it with me, but I can't give you any good reasons that we're moving to October, and I'm not sure he can either, and that's where we are.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. Needless to say, the contractor has had challenges for the last 100+ days. He has lost some project managers, some employees, things like that. He told me today he's had some delays in some material deliveries. I just didn't buy that, in my opinion. You can see right now that the walls are just about topped out. He said the roof trusses should be delivered next week. I'm probably a little bit a part of the delay. When the plumbing was first installed, it was installed incorrectly, wrong position. We didn't have any soil tests done on the site, so they had to remove all that and go back and fix that problem. Since then, we do have a special inspection report for the soil pouring or soil testing. They are supposed to next week install the drainage system in the parking lot, temporarily, not temporarily. Underground storage. So they wanted to go ahead and pave that area, and I said, no, sir, not until we get a little bit more along. There's no sense in damaging the asphalt. At this point, we may as well get the building where it needs to be and move forward from there. But I had a little strong discussion with him today, and this was the owner. And the project manager has been here and there, but it's been a little bit sporadic. Other than that, don't have anything else.
Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Just a comment, this was the low bidder,
It was.
low bidder.
We only had 2 folks that responded after we bid it out the second time, and it was the low bidder.
Did they say 1st of October, end of October, middle of October? or-
The schedule states, I think it's the.
I think it's October 23rd, if I remember off the top of my head, but if you give me a moment to look at my email, I will tell you.
Our festival's the 25th.
In my opinion, if they would move forward, it should be easily. So, but I'm not means and methods of contracting, so therefore I have a magic wand.
My memory is pretty good. They had pre-final inspection the 22nd, which is a Wednesday, final walkthrough October 23rd.
How does this affect the grant?
Would you like me to answer that, Mayor Holden? You want the discussion to continue?
Yes, ma'am, you keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. We got an extension on the grant, so technically the extension should get us into December, but that was to finish up all paperwork. So that was one of the things that I've expressed to Randy this morning, that we, gave ourselves time based on the 100 days, and it's supposed to be the middle of July when this originally finished up, pushed to August. We still had time, and we're now butting up against to our extension.
Mr. Parker,
Do we have liquidated damages in the contract?
No, sir, not on this one. And liquidated damages, a lot of times, and I do a lot of it, liquidated damages, you have to prove damages.
I understand. I've been there.
Yes,
Same
sir.
thing. Yeah.
And
gotcha.
it's kind of like, a lot of times contractors, if you got liquidated damages, your prices go up
course.
just in case.
Yeah. And I'm very
Yes, sir.
sorry. Yeah, thank you.
all right, thank you so much.
Thank you very
you.
much, appreciate it.
Should I continue down the report now, Mayor Holden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ocean Boulevard stormwater, and Randy, thank you. You can stay as long as you want, but you don't have to stick around. The letter report that Bob Kiesler mentioned had the financial certification completed by Daniel when the budget year turned. We sent that back in, and the Wilmington District was planning to submit that draft letter report, which I shared with the board. The Pier site third meeting with staff and HDR was held July 10th. They were here today, and of course, they had the item on the agenda for consideration. As far as our status on our referendum, we were required to advertise. That took place on June the 27th. Staff submitted this application. When this paperwork went into the agenda packet, it says July 8th. That was the anticipation. It actually went in a day early for review by staff on July 7th, and then a final version July 9th. We met with the bond attorney and financial advisor on June 24th to discuss how to proceed with the application. And then several employee updates. We had some of our public works crew to get collection certification. So Chris Benton got operator 2, Shane Barton operator 1, Mark Thomas operator 2. It is with great sadness that for those of you that didn't read your packet ahead of time or didn't hear already, that Chris Clemens has announced his retirement from the town at the end of the month of July. And after 29 years of service and lots of dedication and things that most people would not have done for this town, we deeply regret to have that occur. And we appreciate everything he's done for the town to this point, and will continue to do for the rest of this month. If I know Chris the way that, or if you guys know Chris the way that I do. Austin Bell was sworn in on 6/30/25 as our newest officer. Raquel Archibald started as a technician with the Public Works Department. He prefers to be known as Archie. John Trudeau resigned from the police department since the time of this report. And then I have to let you guys know about budget adjustments with year end. So, turning the page here, I have some back page that since the time of this report. We did receive an extra $131,000 in occupancy tax. So, on the expense side, we have to remit our portion to the county. That was taken from professional services as a budget adjustment in last year's budget. We had Fund 30 with some overtime that was over, and retirement, that adjustment was in salary lines to make that adjustment solid. And then in Fund 10, the inspections had some additional overtime more than was planned, and that was accommodated within the benefits line. So budget adjustments have occurred to make all of that whole. The police chief told me earlier this morning that tomorrow the Coast Guard has contacted him and wants to conduct a study at the east end of our beach at 4:00. The public should not be alarmed if you see the Coast Guard, police vehicles, and fire vehicles at the end of the beach tomorrow afternoon.
Oh my goodness.
And Public Works also let me know this morning that there is some evening nighttime work that has to occur with lines at Lift Station 2. If you see workers working at night in and of the vicinity of Lift Station 2, again, you should not be concerned. And if there's questions on that page before we move to the next page, I'll entertain those now. Okay, moving to the next page. I think on this one, I'm only supposed to highlight major changes. So an update to you. I believe originally that Tim had told you last month during his report that he thought that they may be able to give you an update on the ADA self-assessment in September, but we need to push that to October. They've been working on a lot of stuff and he just needs an extra month. Jordan Boulevard was the first takedown we were trying to do in that, and we discussed that we wanted to do it last budget year, but we were held up with permitting in CAMA out of Wilmington. That permitting has been taken care of. They anticipate starting on that walkway, which will now be accomplished as one in this fiscal year in the next week to 2 weeks. They were trying to let the July 4th crowd go down a little bit. And then as far as the fire station goes, the planning departments continue to work on that project. They anticipate an August presentation to the board that kind of talks about count, location, size, and approximate price. Tim did talk to the Office of State Fire Marshal. He told me this morning, and they're good with what's been presented as far as size and location. They don't think it's too extravagant and fine for the population size. And it looks like the number of fire personnel that's been discussed between the Plant Inspections Department and the fire department, that looks in line with what would be for our size in the state of comparables. And I believe that that concludes this page for updates.
Any questions?
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, thank you. All righty. We're on number 16.
The board held interviews for people interested in serving on the various town boards today. The people who are interested but are currently serving were not interviewed. You guys have ballots on your desk if you would like to vote that way, or you could vote however you would like. If we do the ballots, if we please start with the Parks and Rec one, if we could just do them really quick one board at a time.
And just to note, on the Parks and Rec, it says one, but we're supposed to vote for two, correct?
Correct, yes,
Okay,
I need
thank-
2 for the Parks and Rec one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, but get rid of Parks and Rec.
Most confusing part of this job.
Okay, Peggy Schiavone is gonna be the first member. I need a vote for the board. If everybody could write on a piece of paper and sign your name, if you could please do between Susanna and Christina.
And sign it.
And sign, please. The second member, are you okay that I'm announcing that? You do that sometimes?
No, you're doing great.
Okay, Susanna's gonna be the second member. So if we could do planning and zoning board regular member next, please.
Planning and zoning regular,
Yes, please.
Okay. one.
Yes.
Should put mine on, I could see better. There we go.
What are we doing now?
Regular member, planning and zoning.
Remember.
Thank you. Oh, we need a board of adjustment.
Regular member, planning board.
Thanks, sir. Okay, that's going to be Kate Day. And then if we could do planning and zoning alternate, I need to, but I only had one interested, so if you guys have an extra candidate, or if we're just doing the one for now, we'll do one down on that board. But it is supposed to be 2 people, if you have anybody who, who's interested.
So we can write in someone
If
we
you
want
know
to?
somebody, if you wanna put somebody in there, you sure can. Thank you. Okay, so for this one, it's gonna be Mark Francis and Christina Page. Then if we can do, so Board of Adjustment, if you guys want to do regular member, I didn't have any new applicants, but 2 of the current alternates are interested in being the regular member. So if you want to do Board of Adjustment, regular member first. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's gonna be Richard Roberts. So if you guys have anybody for alternate member, we don't need to do alternate unless you have, because Mr. McIntyre is already an alternate member, so unless you have 2 write-ins. I'm just 2 people short.
That's fine.
Okay. So that concludes my section. Thank you.
Yeah, on this mayor.
And re-advertise for the Board of Adjustment and P and Z, and we could always do a meeting later in the year if you guys would like to.
All right, we're on number 17, Mr. Myers and Ms. Thomas.
Yes, the audit committee met on June 16th or June 26th with the auditor. It was very good discussion, talked about a lot of topics, a lot of points. Two of them kind of emerged as the audit committee thought they were worthy of further actions, further analysis. One had to do with the B-Part fund and having a B-Part fund balance policy, and the other one had to do with occupancy tax. With the B-Part, it's kind of conclusion was it's a huge number, and there are restrictions for some of the money has to be spent according to law. There's also reserves that are needed because if we had a bad year and we didn't collect occupancy tax because the rental season was disrupted, there were still expenses that needed to be covered. And then, of course, everybody's eyeing that money for the pier, for fire station, for pickleball courts, for concert venue, for everything. So they would like to draft a policy to establish the guidelines for management and use of the B-Part fund in order to balance compliance with legal requirements, financial stability, adequate reserves, and support for the town's strategic initiatives. So I'd like to make a motion to task the audit committee to develop a draft B-Part fund balance policy for consideration by the BOC, bring it back to us. Well, they would come up with it, they would bring it back to us for consideration. So that's the first motion I'd like to make.
Second.
Madam Attorney, I don't want to stick my nose out in somebody else's business, but probably caution the board about the town, makeup of the town, and who does what. I don't know that we can have appointed members set policy for the town. I'm just asking anyone that knows more than I do, have at it, but it's a little caution. Yes, sir.
They're not going to set policy. They will draft a policy for consideration by this board. So they are simply presenting a policy option. They're not setting it. It'll have to come before this board for anything. So they'll make a recommendation back to this board.
Shouldn't the staff be directed to do that first? Because I was under the impression that the audit committee is advisory board and it does not develop policy without staff input first.
Daniel's involved.
It's my understanding it would be a staff with direction, I guess, from that board. But it would be staff.
It'll be Daniel.
What part? Wouldn't it have to go through the town manager? I would say in the potential occupancy tax, that we should have the town manager look at that, especially compared to what maybe other towns are doing, because from what I understand, there's an expense incurred, there could be an expense incurred with that. So that would be a budget issue, and then I think the staff would have to look at that first.
That's correct.
That was going to be the second motion. But basically the thought was that it's an issue for a lot of different towns. There's a lot of information out there about occupancy taxes. In the discussion with the auditor, I mean, they can audit the taxes that are received, but they don't know what they don't know in terms of people that are renting their own homes or using their own websites and should be paying occupancy taxes and are not. And those are the ones that other towns have targeted. There's a lot of information out there. The thought was that they would investigate what others are doing, look at potential solutions, and once again, make recommendations, not pass anything.
Again, I don't want to stick my nose out too far, but this has been an ongoing subject. Many years with the town, and the town started investigating quietly. exactly what you're talking about. So this is not something new. This is something that has been ongoing behind the scenes. And I'm not in favor or against whatever, but apparently there's a lot of information about that maybe many people don't know about. And I would, having been a part of that original occupancy tax, the Vacation Rental Act, in fact, I helped write that, the state of North Carolina, by the way. I know a little bit about it. And know a little bit about the county's relationship and all. I was involved in all that, and I would just encourage you not to move too fast until maybe do a little bit more homework. The staff can help you, and the background work can help too. Yes, ma'am.
So in regards to the first thing, Sydney, I want to be clear. Are you saying that we cannot ask the audit committee to draft a B part fund balance policy? I didn't understand what I want to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. They can't draft a fund policy to bring to the board for approval? That has to be staff?
Staff needs to be involved.
Well, they would be because Daniel's on the audit committee.
I'm not sure if that meets the criteria. I would need to do a little bit of double checking on that to see if that would meet the criteria, but I can't say if that's for certain or not. I would recommend tabling this until your next meeting so that we can get more information.
Okay.
And move forward with all the right information, whether
Okay.
that's enough or if it needs to be a staff direction.
It's kind of your motion.
Okay, is that the same for occupancy tax? 'Cause, I mean, the auditor was not aware of what else has been done, or if there is work out there, they are not aware of
If
it.
there's no urgency, I would just ask the consideration of maybe tabling that until the next meeting to
Okay.
give the attorney a chance.
So,
Bring it back for next meeting.
so you
Yeah.
made the motion to do that, but you might want to,
Just withdraw it or table it.
I'll table it.
but we need to
Withdraw.
make a motion to instruct the attorney to investigate it. Or direct her to do it,
And
however you
you
want.
can't have it one motion on the floor.
Okay, I will withdraw the first motion, and then I'll move to direct the attorney to investigate it and report back to us at the next meeting.
Okay, all right, so that's a motion.
A second.
Second. In discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay. Okay. Go back here where we are. There's no urgency on that.
Nope, other than lost money.
Lost money.
Well, I mean, if we could be collecting more, the sooner we start collecting more of them. If we could.
Okay. Getting rolling here again. Number 18, Ms. Ferguson.
Yes, sir. So UNCW sent out an email to stakeholders who attended the April 1st Regional Sediment Management Workshop. I received that email and I've included it in your packet so that you guys could follow along with correspondence, so could the public. Basically, they are applying for a grant with NFWF Coastal Resilience Fund, and they're asking for letter support for the project. They're proposing public hearings, public meetings, and then we'll be going through a process, and it outlines on page 74 in the email the main task that they're planning to do, and then the meeting, the interview with individual communities, and public science talk per community. The ask was that communities do a letter of support. It was a quick turnaround from the time the email came in, plus you guys didn't have another meeting before then because it was a July 2nd email. I did do some follow-up to find out if there was a financial obligation for participation on part of the town, and it says that they are not. It did also say that their full grant's not due until July 17th, so it would allow approval if the board chose to do that tonight. Basically, the template, the letter here that is in your packet that's got my name on it, the top paragraph, the third paragraph is strictly from their template. They gave suggestions of things you could cover in the middle. The board seems to be divided in giving you information on this, on whether we should participate formally by sending this letter in to say we support your efforts in applying for this grant, or whether we should just participate informally and attend the meetings that are going to be scheduled and be a partner that way. I certainly encourage us to be partners with the university anytime we can. My concern that I wanted you guys to have a discussion about is we haven't seen their grant paperwork. We don't know what they're proposing. I don't think that the university would be willing to want to share that. And so there is a risk there that you don't know what they're proposing, but yet you're saying you fully support their package. Therefore, if you wanted to participate informally, could, if the board knows that that's the risk, and I've tried to narrow this letter to be very concise in what we're agreeing to in case the board did want to move forward formally, then there's a letter there for your consideration. So it's up to the board for a vote. But I did want you to think about what your risks are.
Yeah, I attended the workshop with Christy and I was impressed. Dr. Long, the same person that's going for the grant, orchestrated it, conducted it. There were 60 participants. It was kind of a who's who with regards to beach issues. There were towns there, consultants there, engineers, academics, everybody was there. They're trying to wrestle with a lot of the issues that we're wrestling with, resiliency, protecting the coastal areas. And at the time, it was an inaugural meeting, first time they ever met. And I know at the end, they said, you know, where do we go from here? What are the next steps? There was a lot of support for going forward, but yeah, it wasn't really well defined until now. And this appears to be that they're going for a grant to fund it to continue to move forward. So I do think there's a lot that can be gained if we were to be involved with them. They're, you know, especially they're really focused some on kind of the backside protection from the intercoastal or the canals, instead of hardened structures like retaining walls. They are using living shorelines, and it's showing a lot of success. So I think there's a lot of promise. I do think it's still forming, and it's kind of not clear where it's going, what it's going to be. But a lot of other towns are signing up. I saw in Port City Daily that Oak Island's working on a living shoreline project or 2 projects with them. Carteret County has got a very successful project. I don't think it was with them, but it had to do with living shoreline. So I think there's some real opportunity, and I agree that it's kind of unknown what they were planning to do at this point. So based on having attended, I think we definitely informally, we should continue to attend and participate and learn what we can learn. I guess I don't, you know, I understand the issue of the risk of you know, what are our interests and how do we protect them? And I don't view them as a hostile group or anything like that. But if the board thinks that we should, you know, stay informal, then that's better than nothing. But I don't see I see a potential benefit, and we can always see how it plays out going forward. But I was very impressed with the session that they conducted and the topics that they dealt with and the people that participated.
Yes, sir, Mr. Parker.
My understanding of what we're looking at, and based on what I read, maybe I didn't understand, but it's every intention that we will be participating. What they really want is a letter supporting their obtaining the grant. I think on the surface, it looks good, and I think we need to engage with them when they do their study. But I don't know what the grant is, how much it's for. I'd like to learn a little more before we just throw a town endorsement behind it, and we just don't have time to get that. I'm concerned about how the regional plan may be used because I don't have that information. In particular, they're going to have a prioritization structure and a prioritization criteria and consensus metrics. I don't know how that could affect us because it sounds to me if you're at the top of the priority structure at some point, good for you. But if you're not, maybe not so good. And I don't clearly understand what the end goal is when this is done. How does it get utilized to benefit Holden Beach? So We definitely want to engage in it, but I'm hesitant to support signing a formal letter of support.
Anybody else? Are we-
So are we saying, is there informal support or is it just no letter? Letter or no letter, is that the only options here, or can we give a letter of general support or whatever we want to call it? We're in favor of what they're trying to do and we, you know, see value in it.
I guess that throws another variable into the mix to ask that. I didn't really give that. They were hoping to have letters of support to go in with the grant package. I guess if the board decides where you are is that you would want, I'm really hesitant to do this from the dais, but if you would want a letter that says, we support the initiative, but at this point we are only wanting to engage informally, we could do that. It would be more of an email. I don't know what the happy medium is. I think they either need a letter to go in with the grant package or else we would just stay on their interest list of, hey, we want to know when your meetings are and we want to be at them and we want to be a part of it. But
I'd like to make a suggestion. I don't have a problem signing a letter in behalf of the commissioners if you'd support it. Just a letter saying that we support the concept and that's it. No commitment, no nothing, just the idea.
I think they're doing a good job and I think, yeah, it would make sense to say we support their efforts and where they're headed.
Anybody have a problem with that? Just short,
No,
simple, and sweet.
If we do this by consensus.
yes, but what I'm hearing, just to make sure I'm clear, because this will have to be done tomorrow, is that you want a new letter drafted that just makes that one statement and that Alan will sign it.
Matt, just tweak that a little bit, say,
Sure.
We approve the concept and look forward to engaging in your project. Just to let them know, we want to be involved, we're just not going to formally support the grant application. Does that make sense or does that mess it up, Alan?
You guys are in charge, whatever you say.
Yeah.
But Christie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I remember at the end of the workshop, it's like, what are we doing next? And it's gonna take some money and how are we gonna get money? And it sounds like this is how they figured they can get money. That's my sense of what this is all about, is they're going for grant money to keep that program going or start a program or, you know, take the next steps that they talked about.
I agree that was said. I think that without giving too much information here, I think the underlying risk that could be interpreted from us being there, Tom, is that if you guys feel comfortable with a type of letter, the thing is you don't know what the grant funds are going to get to an end product. And if the end product were to go against any of your previous resolutions, for example, that all the sand from the Lockwood Folly Inlet should always come to Holden Beach, and the regional sediment management outcome was not that, then you've presented a letter that says we fully support what you're doing, and then the study comes and says something against you. I think that's the inherent risk that we're talking about here. So if you guys want to support the university, I don't think there's anything that they are trying to do against the town of Holden Beach. However, I would be really careful and caution you to be cautious about how you craft your letter.
Yeah, I mean, there's a risk of not being involved too. If you're involved, you can maybe have a say and influence whatever the conclusions are. If you're not involved, you have no say. So it's a two-edged sword. I guess I don't see it as at this point where they are and they're so brand new, they're just trying to get started. I don't want to read more into it than's there right now.
Again, I think they will involve us whether we provide a formal letter of support for the grant or not. That's the way I read the package. So I can go with the mayor's recommendation. I don't have to add any verbiage there, or we cannot submit a letter of support. But I like the the mayor's approach because we are responsive.
I agree. Agree. All right. Have we got a meeting in the minds and a consensus? Okay. All right. Are we on number 19?
Yes, sir.
Anybody in the audience want to speak about anything that's on your mind, good, bad, or ugly? If you raise your hand, be recognized, come speak in the microphone up at the podium, tell us who you are and where you live. Have 3 minutes of enjoyment. Anyone? Everybody wait? All right, no takers. We'll move to mayor's comments. Remind everybody it is hurricane season and to have your storm plan in place, ready to put it into action. Second item I want to talk about is a no wait around the bridge area. And technically, those that can remember, we, from the old Betty's restaurant down there over to the end of the west end of Yacht Watch subdivision, that was formerly put into a no wake zone. However, it's not being enforced. The Corps of Engineers would not go along with it because of an area of commercial traffic. However, the other arms of the government, Sheriff's Department, Fisheries, and some other enforcement boats are regularly seen in that area. And I personally beg everybody to please slow down going under the bridge and in that area, because we have, as I live near there, and jet skis going 50, 60 plus miles an hour through the bridge, going north and south on the waterway, as well as different kinds of boats. So somebody eventually is going to get hurt, and I'm as adamant about that as you are, Rick, about the seat belts in your golf carts. But just please be careful and slow down in that area. One question that was not addressed tonight when we were talking about Block Q, remind everybody that's involved, the dance floor that we have had over under the bridge before we tore down the pavilion, the size of that, there was previous a discussion about expanding that. So the size of that dance floor will not accommodate the crowds each and every concert. So I would encourage a larger dance floor than what we had over there to accommodate the crowds. The line dancers have taken a lot of space, which means there's a lot of people enjoying it. Shaggers and whatever else they're doing dance wise, they have to have their space, and we do not conceivably have enough space with what we had in the past. And I would encourage consideration of adding more to our future plan. My ears, my telephone, and so forth have suffered greatly in regards to flags on the beach. Every time the discussion comes up about flags on the currents, the winds and storms and so forth, I just want to reassure the public that I am aware of the concern that so many people have. Also, I'm aware that Ocean Isle just started using flags according to what I'm being told. But I'd also like to remind everyone that the town in the past has done significant amount of research and mind searching and discussions and so forth and so on about the positive side of flags on the beachfront, the liability that may be part of that program, and then the added cost of monitoring and making sure the right flag is up at the right time, and the list goes on and on. I don't have a solution for it. I just want to say that the town is aware of the complaints that are coming in about the lack of flags and also the lack of lifeguards. The town in the past, and I'm sure is still concerned today about the cost. The budget would have to be radically amended to provide that service.
And again, you'd have to consider the lifeguard and the liability issue. And at one point in time, I don't know, Christy, you might be able to help me, but those of us that have been around a while, there was a study that I saw a few years ago that the beaches that are in our area in this coast have had, with lifeguards, have had more drownings than Holden Beach has had with no lifeguards. Interesting study. I wish I had kept a copy of it. I want to talk about erosion for just a minute. Back in the wintertime, the west end of Holden Beach suffered a right good bit of erosion down in Holden Beach West subdivision. The escarpment line was up into the dunes in many parts of it. And we reassured the public that it would come back and round off, and that's just nature's way. However, at high tide now, especially full moon tides, the tide does come up almost to the dunes again, but everything's going to be all right. There's about 250 to 300 yards more of dune area down there now than there was back after Hurricane Hazel. So those of you that own property on the west end, you have gained 250 or 300 yards of oceanfront dune protection over the time frame from 54 to 2025. So you can afford to lose a few feet because it will come back. Everything's going to be all right. The escarpment line around the pier area after this recent storm, we had about a 4-foot escarpment line right there at the pier area. It's rounding back off now, and it's going to be all right too. By Labor Day, I expect it'll be just a gradual round off there unless we have some more storms. So we are aware of that. We're monitoring that. We have engineers that measure all these erosion factors and keep up with it, and we are mindful of it. The east end, the very tip of the east end of Holden Beach is eroding, which is unusual. And our maintenance department, Christie, that old water line that used to cross from east end of Holden Beach over to Oak Island, where it used to be Long Beach, which is now Oak Island, is exposed again down there. It might be an idea for the maintenance department to go down there with the backhoe and see if they can do anything to help remove that, cut it off, or do something. It is a hazard, not only for walkers, but fishermen and boaters and so forth. The west end of Holden Beach, the very tip, continues to create a fish hook effect down there that unlike I've ever seen down there in my lifetime. The dune line is moving eastward, which means we're losing the sea oats and so forth that are on the westernmost point of Holden Beach. I don't have an answer for that. But again, wasn't too many years ago that line of vegetation was not there. And there used to be a stream, a creek that went behind those westernmost houses between the island and the back of those houses. So we're not in any worse shape overall if you look at 50 years or so forth. Trying to put everybody at ease a little bit there. The wonderful world of technology and Facebook. There's so much misinformation every week that's coming out on Facebook. And then my phone rings and people come to my office and want to know who drowned and how it happened and so forth. And there was not anything. This past weekend, we had somebody that fell down some steps and somehow it got on Facebook, somebody drowned.
Shark bite victim.
Oh, shark bite. Yeah, shark bite too. Yeah. And there was no shark bite and there's no drowning on Holden Beach this past weekend. And it's just it's a shame that it's like the old gossip game you played in primary school, you know, But, please verify information before you pass it on, I guess, in these kind of bad publicity events that we are trying to endure. And with that, much appreciation to the staff and all the folks for being here. You got
Sure. I would also like to thank everyone who's stepped forward to volunteer for serving on a board. Thank you for offering your service for the town. And thanks to everyone in the audience for participating, and anybody that's watching online, thank you for your involvement.
Okay.
Well, I think we're going to certainly miss Chris Clemens. I wish there was some way that the board and the town of Holden Beach could recognize him some way officially. He's done a lot for us. He's done a lot of things that nobody else would do, and I don't anticipate we'll do in the future. He's always been the person, the go-to person at Holden Beach when things needed to happen. He'd make them happen, whether it was day, night, weekend, holiday. It didn't matter to Chris. So again, I would like to personally thank him for all that he's done for Holden Beach in the years that I've known him. And I wish him only the best in the future. And again, I hope we'll somehow decide to do something nice for Chris in the near future. Let's all be mindful it is tourist season. Grocery stores packed, stores are packed, roads packed, golf carts everywhere. Please be patient. I am patient, as everybody else has to be when you're behind one. I saw one actually yesterday going up the sidewalk about 25 miles an hour. So, y'all can't be everywhere, Jeremy. But it's, again, just be mindful of the acts of vacationers. They're on vacation. I mean, they figure that there ain't no rules. But let's everybody be careful, be mindful of them, and be safe. And I would like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We've got a good crowd, people online, and all the efforts of us trying to get things done right and get the right people on the right board so we can move forward with Holden Beach. Thanks for coming.
Ms. Thomas?
I agree with Rick. I'd just like to publicly thank Chris for his service, always going above and beyond. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Appreciate your support, and just be safe out there. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank Chris for his service. He's gone above and beyond, doing many king tides, flooding of Scotch Bonnet. I've watched him stand out there in that nasty water at the pumping station, and I know we're all going to be glad to see that that's going to come to futurity that he's worked really hard on. And I'd like to thank him for his service. I'd also like to, this is the time of year I like to make my little pet public service announcement. I want to remind people that the pet time for 9 to 5, no pets on the beach, is certainly not to punish anyone that you don't want your pet with you at the beach. I want to reiterate that it's very dangerous this time of year, especially with the 98% humidity, that people don't realize the asphalt, the sand. If you're wearing flip-flops, I want you to take your flip-flop off and you walk in that sand and see how it feels for your pet. We get burned paws, we get saltwater poisoning, we get sand impaction, we get sunburn. So we're just trying to offer a public service to people with the 9 to 5 to keep your pets safe. But please keep in mind, they do not need to be, and no animals need to be on the beach between 9 and 5. Some people shouldn't be on the beach between 9 and 5. So certainly animals shouldn't. I'd also like to take this time. We've had some people come forward. I want to thank them for volunteering for boards, but I'd like to take this time. I hope I'm not out of line. Somebody that served on the Parks and Recreation Board for several years, and she's done an excellent job, Melanie Champion. I'd like for you to keep her in our thoughts and prayers. She lost her husband last week. They're a prominent business on this island with Champion Pools and Resorts, and I'd just like for you to keep that family in your thoughts and prayers, what they've done for the community, especially coaching children, and I think it's well-deserved, and just be thoughtful of them. Thank you.
I'd like to echo what Mr. Smith said and others concerning Chris Clemens. I've lived here for 20 years, and everything he's been responsible for has been rock solid. I'll miss him, but congratulations to him, and I hope retirement is excellent for him. Just want to touch on lifeguards for a second. I recently found an article, I'm not sure how old it is, but it was for Wrightsville Beach, and they have about 4 miles of beach. They employ 94 seasonal lifeguards. So, and that's before you get to 16 lifeguard stands and whatever equipment, and then there's full-time people, and this all works through the fire department. So we're a longer beach, so if we were to, that adds up to a lot of dough real quick. So I just want to throw out there, it is a complex problem, and it's not cheap. Each lifeguard has to have 90 hours of training, I believe. So, you know, these are not going to be the folks working necessarily for minimum wage. With that, I would like to thank everybody for coming out, and it would be my privilege to make that motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Oh,
Okay.
we,
No. I'll just hold on just 1 second. If I may. I failed to mention, we do have a problem on the beach strand. The emergency access for our fire department and the others to drive along above the high tide line up next to the grass, and also under the pier. Please, people that are enjoying the beach, please leave 10 feet of right of way for our beach patrol people, our emergency vehicles, and our service vehicles to serve the fellow man by being able to get up and down the beach. Do not put chairs or anything else that inhibits the use of that 10-foot wide area for the vehicles up above the high tide line, just south, just oceanward of the grass line. So please leave that open. And with that, I recognize your motion and your second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.